It has the ability to project to you a story, to take you on a ride. And that's what this meditation was about. To notice, where does it take you? What thoughts does it offer up to take you into a story, which then becomes a whole dream world? It could do this with an image. It could do with a memory. It could do it with emotion. It can also push on the body, emotional body, so you feel things because it wants kind of to be fed. In the version of it as a living being, it's seeking to have you believe the same stories, do the same emotional cycles to reinforce itself. And this is where the key gateway to changing that mind so it's no longer seeking suffering and operating out of fear and anxiety and judgmental victim thoughts is to operate from consciousness and, in a way, starve it. But to do that, you have to have a significant gap between you as conscious awareness and the mind. To go, I see you want me to go do that. Okay, well, nice of you. Good. Love you. But you want me to be afraid right now and run away. Okay, well, this is actually quite safe. So to do something other than what your mind is stressing to do you as habit becomes a way to break that mind. You're now moving and believing and feeling in a way different from its pattern. Another way the ego mind behaves, and we did this in the last session also, it's going to distract you away from the source of the issue. In that session, people were noticing here was the thought or the impulse, but if they tracked it back to the source, it was like, oh, this is related to a memory. I'm 7 years old. And this is where you need the hunting skills to track back and say, what's the real problem? Or what's the real emotion that's being felt, and what do I do with it in a skillful way? Because perhaps you noticed today, it doesn't invite you to go to what's the real source of the feeling and how to address it. What it does is it says, oh, here's a tangential thought. I'm giving you something that's then going to lead to something else and lead to something else and lead to something else. It's taking you on this whole, I'll call it the spaghetti bowl. If you can imagine a spaghetti bowl of wet noodles, and every one of those wet noodles is a little thought process, train of thought. But every time a wet noodle touches another wet noodle, you can have a tangent thought and now go with that thought. And every time that wet noodle touches another wet noodle, your mind can take some association and go, that's like this. And so this is its wet noodle of associations all in a bowl. And every time one touches another one, it says, good, let's go over here. Let's go over here. Let's go over here. It doesn't care which wet noodle path you go on, as long as you're busy dreaming in its dream world of wet noodles. The monkey mind is getting from you what it wants, which isn't necessarily what you want. Okay. And it proposes the solution for this is something else that it wants, but not actually addressing something else. It's not actually addressing the source. So this is the one of the types of games it plays. In so doing, it puts you in its version of your identity. And now you're no longer operating from consciousness. You no longer have a choice. You have only the options that identity, the ego mind, would be able to choose. So if you're in a victim, fearful anxiety state, in that train of thought, in that identity, you only have choices that a fearful victim full of anxiety could choose. If you're angry, you only have the choices that anger would allow you to see. Because you can't make a choice unless you see. And from the ego mind in its little compartmentalized different identities, you only have the choices of that identity. And so consciously choosing, making a better choice, seeing the consequences of like, oh, if I do that, then this could happen, this could happen. Okay, that's really bad. I don't want that. You're not using the executive function of your brain to plan and choose wisely. And therefore, we end up making decisions that are the self-sabotaging ones or that aren't in our best interest. And so, yeah, you're in that dream world, and this is why we call it a personal dream. And in that dream, just as if you were sleeping at night in a dream, you're typically unaware, yeah, my real life, my waking life, I'm over there and that's it. No, in a dream world, you have that disconnect of where you really are, what you really want, what you need. And this is what happens with our ego mind when it takes us into these dreams. And so if you look at what's going on in society and say, why would people vote against their own best interest? Why would they make self-sabotaging decisions? Why would an alcoholic go take a drink when intellectually they know it's unhealthy and going to have these terrible consequences? This is because that mind is choosing for them instead of their conscious awareness choosing for them. So this may help you understand not just about yourself, but about society and politics and things like that in general.